everyone and welcome to today's video. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Shay and welcome to my channel. Today I have my younger sister Georgia here and I'll be doing her makeup today. So before we get started, please make sure to like, subscribe, check out my Instagram. It will be in the description box below. All the products that I've used in this video will be in the description box too. So let's get on with the video.
First of all, I'm going in with a primer. So this is the Hourglass Veil Primer and I'm just going to apply that on the back of my hand and using a stippling brush to apply that onto her face. Now for foundation, I'm going in with the Too Faced Born This Way foundation. This is one of my favourite foundations that I own in my collection. I just find that it has the nicest finish, coverage, and doesn't feel too thick throughout the day, as I find with most medium to full coverage foundations. So I'm just applying this all over her face and down her neck. I'm not going to pack it on quite heavy. I don't really want to do a full coverage foundation on Georgia today. Her skin just doesn't seem to like having a thick or full coverage foundation on her. We don't really understand why, but I'm going over top of her foundation with a sponge, and that's just to soak up any sort of extra product that's laying on the skin, and it just makes the foundation look so much nicer. That's just a little tip that I do whenever I do someone's makeup. Moving on to concealer, so this is the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer, and I'm just applying that over top of her trouble areas. Instead of using more foundation, I'm just going to apply some more concealer on top of those areas and then blend it out. Now moving on to a lighter concealer. So this is the Urban Decay Naked Skin Concealer, and I'm just going to apply this underneath her eyes, on her nose, forehead, chin, and then her cupid's bow. This is just going to help highlight those areas. I'm just going to apologize now for my awkward hands. I'm just realizing as I'm filming and editing that it looks a bit awkward. I'm typically would be standing on the other side of the person when I'm doing the makeup, but I was having to stand on this side due to where the tripod was standing and where all my makeup products were, and I didn't want to trip over any cables. But I ended up going back and forth between the two sides and just having to be careful of the cords that were lying on the ground. But yeah, just apologising for that. I don't usually look that awkward. So as you can see, I've blended out this concealer just using the same brush that I used for the foundation and just buffing in those areas. And now I'm just going to go on top of them with a sponge just to blend everything more seamlessly in together and just to go over any sort of excess product and pick it up. Moving on to eyebrows, I'm going in with the Anastasia Beverly Hills Dip Brow Pomade in the shade Blonde. So I'm brushing the eyebrow hairs up first, then I'll grab a little bit of the product and I'll start to carve out the bottom of the eyebrow by drawing a line, and then I'll buff in that product a bit more. Then I'll create the line on the top of the eyebrow and then buff in that product as well and brush the hairs into place. So now I'm just going to repeat those exact same steps onto the other side. So I'm going back in with a bit of that NARS concealer and I'm just going to tidy up the edges of the brow and make sure that they're nice and clean and they are the right shape. Now I'm going in with the Mercier Translucent Loose Setting Powder. This is one of my favourite setting powders ever. It has the nicest finish and it just makes everything look so nice and flawless. So I'm just going to dust this all over the face, and then I'll go in with the sponge, and then I'll pack it on and do some baking. So like I said before, I'm just going to do some baking. So I'm just grabbing a sponge with a bit of that product and packing it underneath the eye area. This is just going to help catch any sort of eyeshadow fallout. So I'm going in with the Huda Beauty Mercury Retrograde eyeshadow palette, and I'm grabbing the coral shade that's in this palette, and I'm just going to dust this into the crease to create a transition shade. So I'm just going back and forth and very lightly going into that crease. I'm not really doing it to build any colour, purely just to help blend out the eyeshadows that we will be putting on top. Now I'm going in with the Huda Beauty Desert Dusk palette, and I'm going in with the dark orange shade there, and I'm going to use this in the crease. So I'm just really trying to get that nice orange shade. So I'm very lightly going in one little bit at a time, and I'm going to keep building up that color. So I'm purely just focusing this product mainly on the outer edge and then into the crease and blending it in with the transition shade that we have applied before. I have realized as I was doing the makeup that you didn't really need to have the Mercury Retrograde palette because the Desert Dusk palette actually has like a lighter coral shade in there, so you could just use that shade instead of the Mercury Retrograde palette. So that's what I would have done in the future if I were to recreate this look. Now I'm going back in with the same brush that we used for the coral shade, and I'm just going to blend the two together to make sure that everything is nicely blended and there's no harsh lines. Now grabbing a deeper red tone brown, I'm going to focus this colour on the outer edge and then into the crease. This is just going to help create some depth to the eyeshadow look. So I'm mainly just focusing it on those areas, and I'm not going too far up to the brow bone. I'm just mainly putting it into the crease, and to help me do that I'm using a smaller, more defined blending brush rather than a big fluffy one that we were using before. Going back in with that fluffier eyeshadow brush that we used with the coral, I'm just going to blend that colour in with the rest of the eyeshadow. So that's a really key factor when you are doing eyeshadows, to make sure that everything is nicely blended in order to create a seamless looking eyeshadow look. Now I'm going in with the Too Faced Glitter Glue, and I'm going to pack this onto the lid. This tacky base is going to help make sure that the shimmer that we pop on top of it stick, and it is honestly a game changer with your shimmers and your glitters. It just makes it so much better and lasts so much longer compared to using no sort of primer. I 100% recommend this product. It is a game changer. Now just using a paddle eyeshadow brush, I'm going in with this purple iridescent colour that's in the Desert Dusk palette, and I'm just going to pack it on top of where we place that glitter glue, and this is just going to help make sure that that colour is just so opaque, so shimmery, and make sure it just sticks onto the lid. Now I'm going in with the Anastasia Beverly Hills Gel Eyeliner in the shade Black, and I'm just going to create a very thin line along the lash line. Now that I've created a thin line across both eyes, I'm going to do a little bit of a wing. So I'm just following George's natural eye shape and then creating a line where I want the wing to be and connecting it to the liner that we have already placed. Now I'm going to smoke out the eyeliner that we've placed, so I'm just using an angled eyeshadow brush to do this, and I'm just going back and forth and buffing it in. Now I'm just going to grab a smaller, more defined brush, and I'm just going along that eyeliner again and further buffering that out. Now I'm just going to remove the powder that we use for baking underneath the eyes, just using a brush and dusting it off. Now I'm going to mix the orange and that warm tone red brown shade, and I'm just going to dust this along the lower lash line and connect it to the upper lash line. So the eyeshadow went a bit too far down than what we were wanting it to be, so I'm just grabbing a little bit of concealer with a brush and I'm just going to clean up that edge. The next steps after finishing the eyeshadow, we'll be applying mascara and lashes. We decided not to film this process just because it is such a long and boring process, so I'm just using George's Benefit Their Real Mascara and these Adel Lashes, and we'll apply them. Now I'm going in with the Anastasia Beverly Hills Clear Brow Gel, and I'm just going to set the eyebrow hairs in place just by combing the product through the brows. Now I'm going in with the Dior Contour Palette. I'm using that lighter brown, and I'm going to focus the product in the hollows of the cheeks, just dusting it back and forth, then applying a little bit on the forehead and temples, and then just lightly dusting whatever's left over on the brush on the jawline. Going in with a bronzer now, I'm using this one from Marc Jacobs, and I'm just going to warm up the face, and I'm just applying it pretty much in the same areas where we applied the contour, and I'm just going to blend it all in and bronze it all up. And then George is just saying that this is her favourite makeup look so far that I've done on her. Yeah, and I really like it too. It ended up looking really nice and really good, so I'm glad that she's happy with it. Now I'm going in with the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Blush in the shade Dim Fusion, I believe, and I'm just going to mainly focus this product on the apples of her cheeks, and then I'm just slowly going to build it up and buff it up into the direction where her ear is. I'm just applying a bit of black eyeshadow into the waterline, and this is just going to help make the eyes stand out a lot more, and I believe it just transforms the whole makeup look. Moving on to highlight, I'm going with the Anastasia Beverly Hills Amrezy highlighter, and I'm just going to apply this on the highest points of Georgia's face. So that will be her cheekbones, her nose, Cupid's bow, her chin, and then above her eyebrows. And I'm also going to pop a bit of that highlighter in her inner corner, and this is just going to help brighten up the eyes. And then I'll also pop some underneath her brow bone. Now, using this product from Hourglass is their Ambient Lighting Powder, and I'm just going to place this on top of the highlighter that we just applied, and it's just going to help really make the highlighter nice and glowy. Now I'm going in with some lipstick from MAC. This is in the shade Yash, and I'm just going to apply this onto the lips. Now we're going to add some lip gloss. So this is from Fenty Beauty, and we're just going to apply that just on top of the lipstick that we already had applied. Now that we're all done and we're all happy with the makeup, it's time to set it. So this is the Morphe Continuous Setting Mist, and I'm just giving that a bit of a shake and spraying that on top of the face, and we're just letting that dry and set everything in place.
So here's the completed look. I hope you guys all enjoyed today's video. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and check out my Instagram. It will be in the description box below, and I'll see you next time. Bye!